Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Video Mail for the week of August 20th, 2012. Welcome to the site to you new members, and welcome back to the old. The Ask Video Mail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it. So please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Do it now! Cool, man. It's middle of summer and the weather's been really hot here in LA. I really enjoy it, although sometimes it gets just too hot. In fact, on the weekend when it's like hot and sweaty, sometimes I just want to come into the office just because it's air conditioned and my house is not. So I'm happy to be here right now, out of the heat, and I'm having a good time. Things are really crazy for me right now. I'm not sure if you guys know about this, but I have obviously the website. I have my studio with 3 projects in-house right now. I have I have 1 class at Animation Mentor. I'm writing 3 books. And I don't think I've announced to you guys the 3rd book. Obviously Little Painter, and I have a conference coming up, Animalia 2012. Check it out at animalia.eu. You should know all about this by now. And man, so I feel like so overstressed right now, but really this is one of the things that really kind of just relaxes me. It's fun to answer your guys' questions, so please send in a question so that I can just relax and have a good time answering it. This really is a lot of fun. So thank you, and thank you for being members. And tell your friends. Don't forget the affiliate program is free. It takes 5 seconds to sign up, and you can earn commission on anybody that signs up on the site using your affiliate link. I'm surprised in the beginning a lot of people jumped on, but the sign-ups for the affiliate program have completely died out. There hasn't been a new sign-up in like a week, and it's just kind of interesting to me because it's free. And you can basically pay for your membership if you sign up 3 people. I think 3 people. Don't hold me to that. I'm not good at math. Yeah, I think 3 people. Okay, so let's get to the question. I like this one. It's a little bit complicated, kind of a 2-part thing, and I paraphrased it a little bit so that we can hone in on the real issue. But let's take a look. Okay, great question. So I paraphrased it just a little bit. There was a big long paragraph describing the shot and all that stuff. There's something called ballistic editing, and what that basically covers, this subject covers, is the fact that at different speeds and different distances to camera, a object will have to look like it is moving the same speed, like across the cut. Okay, ballistic editing deals with those kind of movement issues across the cut. Okay, ballistics obviously means, what does ballistics mean? I used to think that it meant motion, in terms of like firing a gun. But let's actually read the definition of ballistics. Okay. Ballistics is the science and mechanics, of mechanics, that deals with the flight, behavior, and effects of projectiles, especially bullets, bombs, rockets. Okay, yeah. So ballistics basically is the science, but it's also the art and editing of how we get things to look like they are moving correctly when we cut. Okay, because when you cut, the first edit in film actually didn't even come for years. I'm not sure when it actually was, but people were shooting films and they had no idea, they had no concept of cutting the film and then all of a sudden you're somewhere else, but you're doing the exact same action. You're just seeing it from some other angle. They used to shoot, back in the very beginning, they would shoot things almost like a play. And the camera would be set up and everything would happen kind of almost like as if it was in a theater. So this is a science and an art that has come a long way. So to answer your question, really basically, you're going to have a really good sense of the impression that the motion is giving. Okay? because everything is relative with editing. Okay? As you have basically pointed out, because if the character is close, obviously, you pointed out that in the shot before, he's moving very, very quick in the long shot. Okay. So let's take a look. Actually, this animator actually sent in a few planning drawings that they have. Let's take a look at those too. All right. So we have our character, our big guy, and he speaks. The little character is sitting on this box on the table. And then as he finishes speaking, the little guy steps away from this little box and he starts speaking. And then he puts his, I can't read that, but he puts his hand on this guy's hand. Looks like his hand is outstretched and he puts his hand on it. And then the devil character, so it's a little angel and a little devil, and the little devil character speaks. Okay. So basically, you have this long shot, this master or establishing shot, where the character is moving really quickly, but then when you get into the medium, there you have to make it feel like he's moving the same speed. So basically, it's up to you to make sure that it feels relatively the same. You can't copy the same speed, because in a wide shot, if it moves across the camera like that, and then in the tight shot you move in, it's just going to blur through frame and nothing is going to be shown. Okay? So that being the case, what do you need to do? The very first place where you start with this is you make sure that, kind of disregarding the speed, that relative to the speed in the wide shot, the close-up is a little bit faster in composition. Okay, so here's my example of that. Okay, so if you have, let's say you have, here's your frame. Okay, let's just draw a frame. Okay, so here's your frame. If this is, so you just kind of like disregard how much space this actually is and just look at this as a frame. All right, if in your medium shot, or if your wide shot, W for wide, a character goes across the screen in, let's say 20 frames, then in your close-up, okay, it needs to be just faster than that. All right. Now, how much faster? That is going to be an issue of looking closely and seeing. Okay. But I would say that for a big difference, then you just need to be relatively faster. So like 10 frames as well. Disregard how much space is actually being crossed. Completely throw that out. First, take the approach where you're editing the shot, and on either side of the edit, that relative difference is the most apparent. Okay, and cheat it as little as possible, and but don't be afraid to push that how much you're cheating up and up and up and up and up. Okay, because when you get to that close-up and he whips through camera, you might be like, okay, I need to slow this down. But the fact is that relative difference in those speeds is going to affect the audience way more than accuracy to whatever that distance is. Okay. Another thing is that when it's really good to have to cut on a motion that is easy to track, and to do that, when I'm looking at your action right here, it looks like he's moving kind of a little bit like parallel to that camera direction. Okay, meaning if he moves quickly this way, then this I love doing this because this is not much of a pose change. Basically, all you're getting is a little bit of scale change, but you're really not getting anything interesting going on in silhouette or composition. This is moving at the exact same distance as I just was, but this is a lot more interesting. So movement lateral to camera, actually, it makes a lot of sense because we have a frame, right? Movement lateral to camera gives you far more interest and mileage, basically, for your effort. Okay, because think about it, lateral or completely, lateral to camera is, basically a 2D composition, right? Only when we start talking about perspective in 3D do we start, talking about the effect that Z depth that diminishes our composition elements. Okay, so this is not very interesting. This is beginning to get interesting. So here's my point. So if your character, as you've drawn it right now, kind of looks like if he's going to be moving quickly in that wide shot, kind of looks like he's moving away from camera. That's going to severely diminish the speed that he actually has. You might be able to get away with matching those speeds a little bit easier with ballistic editing across that cut than you think if that's what you're going to choose. However, if you want more mileage out of that first shot, that first composition, then he should probably be framed a little bit more on the left, zip over to the right, and then when you get into that close-up, obviously he's moving relatively faster because the shot is closer, and that's what we expect. If you want a great example of a character moving quickly and there being close-ups, look at P.T. Flea in Bug's Life, because what he does is in the wide he bounces all over the place, but then they do go but what they do is they push in and he arrives from off camera and lands and stops there, or he does something and bounces out. There's never really a thing where he has to, he's moving really quickly in the wide shot and then they push in and it's just a static shot and he needs to continue moving at that speed. He doesn't really ever do that. Okay? They don't have any shots where they're just trying to lock it off and him move through and feel like he's doing the same speed. And I recommend that you don't try that either. So you might want to take a page out of Pixar's book, because it looks like it's almost like the same size or the same scale as what you're trying to do, and they've already done it, and it's pretty good reference for this kind of thing. Okay, so that would be my advice to you, and good luck with that. So the last issue is that there really is no cutting room floor in animation. And what that means is, I've repeated this over and over and over, but it bears repeating. In live action film, you can have 4 cameras pointing at the exact same scene, and kind of jump back and forth, feel around, feel out the edit, that kind of thing. And in animation, we can kind of, we can place multiple cameras and whatever, but it's so much work to make your animation work in 360 degrees, to all cameras, and you certainly can't light it that way. We actually have a severely diminished cutting room floor, basically the rejects and the discards of our editing that can actually be resurrected and tried out and experimented with. Your layout phase, especially on a very physical sequence, is so important, because that's the only place where you will ever get a cutting room floor. Okay, so use that phase of the process to be extremely experimental. All right, use simple shapes, or use the characters in just T-pose, moving their master controller around. All right, we call it chess piecing them around, or some people call it not layout, but it's not previs either, because you're actually supposed to be using it for really kind of the gross timing. It's not previs where everything is very loose and you're just kind of looking more for the director in camera and that kind of thing. It's actually I can't figure out the word anymore, but anyway, use that part of the phase to be very experimental and really really do it with the idea in mind that you might even start with this scene that you just created, and hit some poses that you've come up with. Play blast a dozen scenes, edit them all together, pick and choose, and zoom in on it and look really closely at it. And then at the end, throw away the ones you don't want, only animate the ones you do want, and ergo the cutting room floor served you. All right, but we don't get that later on in the process, so you need to use that now. Editing is a very, very interesting issue. I'm not sure if you guys know this about me, but my father was an editor. And he was an editor for 30 years and moved us from the East Coast to the West Coast and started working with Disney, and actually was the editor for a lot of the new masterpieces for Disney. And then when Pixar signed their deal with him, he actually edited all the EPKs, featurettes, and DVDs for Pixar. And so he tried to impart as much knowledge on me as he possibly could. And on this issue, he was always talking about energy. And so that's what the final thing that I want to leave you with is that it really does come down to energy. And that's why, forgetting what's going on in the scene and looking at kind of just blank composition and how fast are the shapes moving through in the wide, how fast are they moving through in the tight, and just playing with the energies and really playing with it and experimenting is super important. All right. Until you've done 1,000 of these, it's not going to be instinct. Don't be discouraged that it's not instinct until you've done 1,000 of them and they're just not getting any better. I also don't like to see people, students and people who are learning get discouraged so quickly. All right, please don't. So great. This is it's been a great question. Please send in more. Send them to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I promise I read them all and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. Stay tuned. We're getting down to the wire here, folks. Animalia 2012 is coming up. Check out animalia.eu. Follow my Facebook and Twitter. Hope you're having a great time. Send in questions. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.